Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Bob.
How you doing?
I'm mentally exhausted. Today's a Friday, though.
It is not our normal recording day.
It isn't.
Sorry.
But that's fine. We're trying to get back in the swing of things. So if you're a type of person who was like, dang, Bob and Kevin didn't drop a new album or a new episode this week. Dang it. And you're depressed. Well, you know what? You're listening to this now, I bet. And I apologize. We'll try to be more regular.
Holiday and my birthday got in the way. Massive apologies
That's right,
for that.
Bob. You're the big 5-0. Man.
I am the big 5-0. But I feel great.
But this 50 doesn't feel old when you're like close to 50 or actually 50, right? I mean, I'm 42 and 42 used to sound really old. 50 used to sound super old, but now not so much.
No. And it really is. It's more of a function of how you feel. And, I'm a big fan of like learning new things and doing new things. And this birthday was not lacking for that. Paddleboarded for the first time, which is pretty fun. Recommend that 10 out of 10. And we are the proud owners of our first ever solar panel, portable solar panel for the roof nest.
Any idea how many watts you get from that? You probably buy it based on wattage.
It is a 100. Yeah, it's 100 watt. It's foldable, so it folds down to like a briefcase size, and you open it up, and you can either mount it to something or you can just lay it on the ground. Generates 100 watts. Just for reference, we have a 200 watt solar battery, and you can charge that via your, just your regular old indoor AC or DC. Is that DC?
AC comes out of your wall, and the wall wart turns it to DC.
Okay. So anyway, you can charge it in your wall.
Okay.
And that takes about from a full charge is like 8 hours. But you can also charge it via the solar panels. And the solar panel on a nice day takes about 5 hours.
Really? You're telling me?
Yes.
That unlimited energy that comes out of my wall right here takes longer. So I wonder if that's a function. I wonder how many amps you're actually generating. Of that 100 watts. Is it like a 5-volt output? Any idea? I'm just curious.
I think it's actually 12.
12. Okay. All right. So volts times amps equals watts. So I'm trying to do that. Anyway, I'm not going to do math in real time.
More than I do. But the cool thing is, in addition to it charging the big battery, the solar panel has 3 USB chargers built in as well. So you can charge 3 devices plus charge the battery.
Is that like 3 like flip phones or like actual iDevices like iPhone?
We had an iPhone and an Apple Watch today charging simultaneously, and it did fine.
Sweet.
So
I actually have a solar panel sitting around here somewhere. It's kind of one of those backpack ones where you fold up, put it in the backpack, and get it out. Okay.
This one's slightly bigger than that, and I wouldn't want to pack this one anywhere. It's like 12 pounds.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, that's very interesting. So, Bob is going off the grid, as you can tell here. So.
Yes, on my shopping list is a signal booster for the cell phone service. And I think that's the last thing. Well, we're looking for that mobile internet mystery, but I think it's just going to be boosting cell signal is the best we're going to be able to do.
Well, that's great. Well, so Bob's been off the grid for a little bit because of the holiday and birthday. And so I've been having Bob withdrawal, if you will. And I started a new job. So it's I'm not sure if we said anything last pod or not. Anyway, new job.
I think we've been being quiet about it.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, it's going well. It's I won't get into any details, but it's very cool. I'm very excited. So far, there's always, ask me in 3 months, but so far it's going really great.
Oh, we did kind of allude to it last episode, though, when we were talking about boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
And having your reports ask you for time. Yeah, you were a big talker. So we'll see how that looks in 3 months for sure. And
I want to give an update and personal, like selfish, shameless, if you will, plug Etsy store that the wife and I are running. We've actually went from, does anyone know, is this thing on? Tap, 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 is this thing on? To
the build it and they don't come. Yes.
Right. And this is the silver lining of our pandemic quarantine that we decided to start an Etsy business, and I think we're up to 50 sales as of today, which it's not bad considering I'm like, I don't think anyone's going to buy anything ever. So far it's been going well, selling all kinds of stuff. So we've sold stickers, vector files, like, so just people just do digital downloads. People have bought tangible things like wooden signs. I've got a ton. And Bob, when we came on the air, before the air, you'd mentioned the signs that nobody can see behind me. This is great radio. But I've made some signs because
they're beautiful signs.
Well, thank you.
For those listening at home.
So shameless plug, scribbler.net. That's SCRIBLR.net. So there's no E, so it's very hipster and only one B. So SCRIBLR.net. If you want to buy crap from me, you totally can. But based on the fact that you guys don't even take free stickers, free coasters, and free magnets, you probably won't go there. But you know what? I feel better that I've done my job.
Well, we should probably get that company on the books as a live read sponsor and, help defray the costs of our editing and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. Have we mentioned that we hired an actual editor for the show? So Bob used to do all the editing for the show. So we would say, hey, we're talking. All right, now send me that file, Kevin. This is my Bob voice. And then Bob would, I don't know, he would do whatever Bob does, and then magically a episode would appear in my timeline on Twitter. He said, blah, blah, blah. But now we have a bona fide sound engineer. And
yes.
And I will say there's a little bit of nepotism going on here, but you know what? We're okay because it's Bob's son.
That's how we operate on the Bob and Kevin show. We spread the love. It's a family business, if you will.
And he's done a great job, and hopefully he hears that. His name's Josh. And
yes.
What's the name of his company, Bob?
It's Beatty Bar. It's Beatty-bar.media. So BATY-BARR.media.
.media. Oh, I don't know if I've seen that one too many times. So
too many TLDs.
He does all kinds of sound stuff, right? So he does podcasts. Is he doing anything else? Doing audio?
He does
music,
live music production, post-production. They do streaming events. Pretty much everything related to audio, and they do dabble in video as well.
Awesome.
So it's pretty impressive stuff.
All right. Well, that's the Bob and Kevin show. We've just told you about all of our advertising. Just kidding.
Hey, got to pay the bills.
You are listening to the Bob and Kevin Show with Bob Beattybar
and Kevin Giescheski. Each week we cover relevant tech and social issues related to technology.
Our website is bobandkevin.show.
And our episodes can be found virtually on any podcast network.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Just search for Bob and Kevin Show.
All right, Bob.
We are here to discuss something in particular today, are we not?
We are. So Bob gave me homework, which was great homework. Turned out to be like a fun assignment. He asked me to ponder a social dilemma. But that's with capital letters, right, Bob?
Yes, The Social Dilemma, a newly released documentary on Netflix. It was actually directed by Jeff Orlowski. Kevin, do you know an important factoid about Jeff?
Aside from the fact that he might be Polish? No, I don't.
Could you guess where he resides?
Poland? Russia?
Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, okay, well.
Jeff is a proud citizen of the Republic of Boulder.
So I think I've heard that name before. Has he done anything else, or is this...
I'm sure he has. If I pop... Oh, actually, no, I know off the top of my head. He has two other documentaries, recent documentaries, and they're related to climate change. One is Chasing Ice, I believe is what it's called, and the other one is Chasing Coral.
Well, I just want to make sure Jeff knows that Bob lives in Boulder. So if you guys, like, Jeff, if you're listening to this, first off, hi. It was a great documentary. And second off, maybe Bob would like to get a 6-foot socially distanced coffee with you one day. And yeah, anyway.
I was actually thinking if this episode goes well, we send him to it and ask him if he wants to come on to talk about it a little bit more.
Oh, I like that. It could be like
That'd
Joe
crazy.
Rogan without Joe Rogan. It would be great. Okay. All right. So what's the social dilemma about, Bob?
Well, Social Dilemma is actually, it was so surreal watching it. And I think Kevin agrees with me here because I think we chatted about it briefly. It was almost like watching an encapsulation of the last 2 years of the Bob and Kevin show, except in a documentary/drama presentation. So it basically takes a look at what social media is and actually what it really is. And that's where it gets really meaty, is, Kevin and I have talked about for years now, the AI behind it, the responsibility of the different networks and things like this. And this documentary actually dives into how it all works and has guest speaking or interview style with many developers that were in the early stages and other players high up inside of networks like Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and the likes.
Yep.
So
it's kind of interesting because they kind of had like a scripted part and a non-scripted part. And I've seen that so much now, like with the Mars television series, where it's part documentary, it's part scripted, where they're telling a narrative, and then they're kind of like extracting themselves from the drama and then like talking through the issues, and then they go back to like showing an example. So I thought that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, the one thing that I really appreciate in that format, especially with this kind of content, is you have a lot of speakers that are, highly educated, highly analytical, and they're talking about topics that are not exactly very tangible. You're talking about machine learning, artificial intelligence, their advanced degrees in persuasive technologies and things like that. And then when they add the drama element back in, it kind of paints the picture for, kind of connects dots and paints the picture that sometimes hearing the commentary direct from the developers might seem a little like heady and not tangible.
Yeah. So one of the themes that they had was we as a society have entered a new phase. So in the beginning, in the early part of civilization, we had our first forms of media with the printing press, with the Gutenberg press. And then, we had television and radio, or I guess we had radio, then television. And then the newest kid on the block, if you will, is your freaking smartphone. And one of the things that they brought up, and I thought was like, you know what, you're right. Your smartphone's really like a slot machine. It's like going to the casino. Everyone likes a mystery. Oh, there's my phone. It's right there. Ooh, it's got a blinky light. What does it have for me? So we started, a long time ago. I guess we're 10 years. So the smartphone really came into being about 10 years ago. I guess the first iPhone was like 2007, but I think it really hit mainstream where everyone had a smartphone-ish was 2010. We're addicted. And now you may say, well, what are we addicted to, Kevin? Just that I see my phone? No, you're addicted to what? The dopamine rush, just like a regular recreational drug provides you.
And the problem is with that statement is that it didn't just happen to be that way. It was intentionally built from the ground up to take advantage of that neurosis, that need for that dopamine. And that's the part that really, so I watched it with Caroline, full disclosure. We watched it, I said, hey, Kevin and I have this homework assignment for the show. I think you should probably watch this because she's had, parentally speaking, she's had all these great ideas about how to limit the kids. And we can get to that a little bit later too, but not with any like scientific backing. She just, intuitively knew that this was not good for the kids. And I wanted her to kind of get that exposure to it. And sure enough, she was like, oh shit. Like when she found out, is nefarious the right word? I mean, it was designed intentionally that way, but was it designed maliciously and nefariously that way?
Well, let's unpack that real quick. So how many hours are in Bob's day? 24.
Like
it's not,
my waking
not
moments?
a trick question. It's 24, Bob. Yep.
Oh, I thought you were talking about waking,
No.
like how much I was awake.
How many are in Kevin's, Bob?
24.
So if you want my attention or your attention, you're going to have to compete because there's only 24. There's about 8 or less that we sleep, and then we have another 8 for working, blah, blah, blah. So really what these phones are in their very essence are two things. It's an attention trap. So literally your attention, they want to trap you to put your face in front of it and keep your attention, because they can only keep it for so long, and they want to try to monetize your attention. And they're also the world's greatest manipulation engines ever created.
Yes, and it's subtle manipulation over time, so much that you don't even notice that it's happening.
What you mentioned it earlier. Hey, this is kind of like a culmination of the Bob and Kevin show for the last years. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they showed the Truman Show in the documentary.
Yes.
And I'm like, we've totally talked about that. We've totally said, you know what? Facebook treats us all like we're all on our own Truman shows. And it's so flippin' true. And they actually brought it up. I'm starting to wonder, was it Jeff? Did you
Jeff Orlowski.
Did you get that idea from us? Just wondering. Just just lie to me. Just say yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they've totally been listening, or they've been just collecting. The other thing that I loved, which is something that we've talked about over and over and over again, is the 3D avatar creation that basically spanned the length of the entire documentary. In the control room, part of the drama aspect of it, there was a very rough human form at the beginning, and they basically showed the evolution through the data collection and then steering to provide the content that they wanted the user to see. User, put a pin in that. And over the course of the hour and 30-minute documentary, that person became a full resolution animation of themselves. But in the image of the software, basically.
Oh, the one that really got me, I'm like, you dirty bastards, was, hey, we haven't heard from, I forget the character's name. Let's call him Timmy. We haven't heard from Timmy in a while. He's off the grid. All right, here's what we'll do. We need to flash his ex-romance up on the screen, showing that they have a new fling. Oh, it totally worked. He's back on the grid. All right. Oh my gosh, I feel like that is so what they do.
Well, they gave a hint into that earlier when he was talking to his buddy in like the cafeteria, and that girl that he'd kind of been, thought she was cute or whatever. They had the data on her phone and his phone and knew that they were in proximity, and somehow served up a notification. So notifications are a recurring theme in all this as well, to bring you back to the device. And because the data that they had, they knew that she was close. And it took an in-person interaction between the guys sitting on the sofa to them both being on their phones, because they got sucked into their phones. There was so much great illustration of the concepts.
Another interesting / scary theme was one of the people in the documentary part basically said to the effect of, we're probably going to end up tearing ourselves apart, because, we all kind of go with, the world will end, World War III, nuclear weapons. Well, at this point, I think we're on track to just rip each other apart without weapons, with our literal hands and probably small arms. Because these manipulation engines, these Truman shows, are all individual. We could even be following the same people, Bob, on our social media. We could have the exact same friends list, but they're got so many inputs from so many places that they start manipulating what they show us, and we'll get different feeds, even if we have the same sort of friend list. So at the end of the day, when I hear Zuckerberg say, oh, we just want to connect people, I just roll my eyes and go, oh, that's so you can manipulate us. That's why.
Yeah, there's two major takeaways, or two major intents. So the intent came up a lot in the documentary as well. So, if you believe at the core of human beings that all human beings are good, the intent, they even talked about the like button on Facebook. The intent of the like button was to spread love, to spread good feelings. The outcome of the like button, manifests itself in things like body image problems, depression, suicidal thoughts, self-harm. So like the intent was allegedly good, but the outcome is bad. And I think that relates more so not to the feature, but they reference this a lot in the documentary as well, is that with AI and machine learning, you give the end objective. And if you give a piece of machine code the objective to maintain viewership, that code has no idea the difference between good and evil. And so it's going to do whatever it takes to keep that engagement level.
It's the paperclip.
And they did kind of like, they made that personal in the drama part too, which was nice to see illustrated.
It's the paperclip factory problem. You know, if you give AI a single goal of, hey, make as many paperclips as you can, and then eventually it just eliminates humans because they're in the way. But hell, Earth's got stacks of paperclips, you know, in 100 years, you know, everywhere. So, the like button, you'd mentioned the suicide rate and depression. Yeah, they showed some charts of how it's, you know, when social media was introduced, the rates have just skyrocketed, not just a little bit, just like through the freaking roof. You know, there's so much shame.
Rates in the ages too. It's the ages have like something that wasn't even an issue for that 8 to 14 or 8 to 11 group or whatever it was is now like, you know, 100 times, you know, more prevalent, or 100%, 180% more.
We've talked how having the right phone or so many followers is the new status symbol. You know, it's the current generation status symbol. Have you ever watched Cobra Kai, which was originally on YouTube Red, and then now it's on Netflix?
No, but when we started watching the documentary last night, we're like, oh, we're coming back for Cobra Kai for sure.
All right. So I'm one season in, and one of the themes they have on there is, you know, shaming people through social media and whatnot. I'm like, oh, this is what I worry about, you know, as my kids get older, my daughters especially, because when they look through Instagram, when they see on YouTube and all these, that's not what people really look like. Those are called filters. Now, fortunately, they know what filters are. The problem is I don't think that matters that they know what it is. I think they're going to have some sort of, why don't I look like that? You know, why don't I have that many followers? You know, they won't hang out with me because I only have this many people, friends on whatever, right? Oh, it's just so crazy.
Well, I think it's interesting. I think we could probably jump to this part now that, you know, in the beginning of the documentary, and they kind of brought it in early, so it's okay if we bring it in early too, is that it's very easy to go to like, all right, here's a dark thing. Here's a dark thing. Like, here's all the downsides. And then they were like, what's the problem? And all these great minds that have been part of this since the early days, who helped develop it, who got it to the crazy point where it is, could not put their finger on what the problem is. It's just so many different things. There's not one particular thing.
Here's one for you. Knowing what you know about social media, do you feel like a lab rat, Bob?
That concept came up in the documentary
I
too.
know.
I mean, we all are, because they're feeding us, they're putting the cheese somewhere in the maze, and they're trying to come up with ways to get us to the cheese. And so,
here's a morality question. Would you sacrifice a bunch of lab rats if it culminated in curing cancer?
Well, sure.
Okay. That was supposed to be an easy one, Bobby. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Would you...
Sorry for all the animal lovers out there.
Would you sacrifice a bunch of lab rats for profits, just for pure money? Would you just kill the rats?
No.
Okay. So they kind of talked about this, like you said in the documentary, where, well, lab rats, you know, we feel like that, but at least that's working towards a common good, curing cancer, solving world hunger, you know, whatever, medical. But we're lab rats, but what is the eventual good? There isn't one. It's profits. And so what they talked about during there was that depression and suicide rate, but real people are really dying because of social media. You know, people are actually dying. And Zuckerberg, it's not that far of an extension to say, hey, Zuck, you get paid because even though your platform kills people. And people say, whoa, that's a bridge too far, Kevin. Well, if I shoot somebody, that's a direct thing. If, there's a famous book, and I can't even remember it, but basically the farther you away from the actual death, the less you feel about it. So the sniper feels a little bit less than the person who is on the front lines. The Air Force pilot who drops the bomb feels less remorse about killing people because they're in an airplane, and so on and so forth. So there's like this distance thing. So I'm pretty sure Zuckerberg's at home going, oh, that's just not true. We want to connect people. But I'm looking at going, you know what? Your product plural, products, WhatsApp, Instagram, results in people dying, whether you like it or not. I mean, the most famous, or not famous, but the most recent one was these Kenosha, shootings, right? Wasn't there like a call to arms and people showed up and people actually died?
Facebook missed removing the militia group.
But Bob, it was a operational error, according to Zuck. So we're good. Yes. We're just going to have a meeting about it. I mean, people are dead, but we're going to have a meeting about it. So we're good, right?
Yeah. According to Mark, yes.
According to Mark. All right. Sorry, I'm being facetious here.
Well, no, and the crazy thing is one of the people in the documentary was referencing like the 3 dials, the emotion, the content, the advertising, I think is what the 3 dudes in the room were representing. But the guy even, he said almost straight out that the control on those dials went all the way to the top.
Yep.
All the way. He said all the way to Mark.
We need a little more revenue this month. Let me turn this dial over here. We need a little. Oh, we need a little. Give people some room here. Give them less ads, more friends, more family, more birthdays. Right? I mean, just how gross is that?
But again, I'll go back to it's more than just one. There's many programs, many AIs running within those ecosystems. And each one of them has a very specific objective, because we've talked about this on the show many times before. There's no such thing as, like really multitasking AIs. You can tell, is it a dog or is it a muffin, or, it's very specific tasks. So you have these multiple AIs in these giant computing centers, and they only have a solitary objective. One is to raise money, to find those advertising opportunities, to connect advertisers and streams. One of them is to, control the content flow to keep you picking up that phone. And the other one is the emotion AI, that it's like, you once clicked on a thing that was related to this topic. What can we send that user to keep them engaging with that same kind of, emotional feeling?
Bob,
and that's, I think, where the problem comes in.
If I came to you and said, hey, Bob, I got this great idea. What our goal ultimately is to waste people's time. And the more time we waste out of somebody, the more we get paid. What do you think? I mean, that just sounds horrible, but that's what these are, right?
Yeah. And one of the guys was the gentleman who got brought in to be in charge of Facebook's monetization platform. And you could just tell that guy was...
He had some regret or something. Yeah.
Well, he can't sleep at night. I mean, I'm sure he feels awful. You could just tell by the way he was just so pause-ridden in his responses. It was just crazy.
So, okay, let me ask a pointy question. So, could they even fix this? They, meaning social media companies, if they even wanted to? And here, let me preface it a little more while you gather an answer. Because, shareholder value, they're hiring more people, blah, blah, blah. If I came to you and said, hey, Facebook, just stop, just show us regular banner ads like it's 1999. It doesn't relate to me. It's just some, Yahoo Sports banner. I don't even like sports, but that's the banner in front of me. You remember that old advertising model, right? I mean, if we go back to that model, they're going to look at us and go, well, that's not sustainable, Kevin. And so my question to you is short of actually just saying, there's no more Facebook, how do they fix it? Can they even fix it if they wanted to?
I don't think you can't unwire the AI. Like the AI is like, all right, because the AI gets its dopamine hit too, in
it's
theory.
A reward system.
If the AI achieves the goal, it just wants to achieve the goal again to make it a repeatable, success thing. You can't tell it to stop succeeding. Like, so you could unplug like one of the, let's just say it's a 3-headed monster. You could unplug the advertising one, but does that change the shift over time that the media can do to us with the content and the emotion? Probably not.
Well, there's good news, Bob. AI and machine learning have a consciousness, right? They have morality. They would
have
feel
no
bad,
idea.
right?
They have no idea
Oh,
between
that's
right and wrong.
That's right.
They just win and lose.
It's all numbers.
The one thing that I did like, I can't call the guy's name. He's the really like trippy looking dude with the dreads and the beard.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yep.
He's like, just don't click the recommended video. Use your freedom of choice. And I'm like, all right, so you could do that, but could everyone do that? Because the AI would become rendered useless at that point. If no one ever clicked on the recommended video or never clicked on an ad that came up before the video, it would basically self-destruct. But we can't even get everyone to like get a vaccination.
Well, I learned during the documentary, apparently the guy who created the YouTube recommended videos was suggesting in the documentary of all the Chrome extensions you can get to undo his feature.
Yes.
I thought that was amazing. Like, what's going on? Oh, here's a fun fact for you. You and I, and possibly people born up to around 1996, are what, Bob? I'll lead you. Who are those group of people with relation to what we're talking about?
I don't think it's me, but it's the millennials, right? You're talking about?
Nope. I'm talking about a group that you are in.
Oh, you're talking about the Xers?
Okay. All right. This is terrible radio. I'll just dish here. Okay. So you, myself, and people born all the way up to, but not beyond 1996, maybe the last generation born outside of the Matrix, meaning we may be the only
people
people
flipped it. Yeah.
who have lived in a world that didn't know this level of manipulation. And then people born after 1996 have only lived in a world where everything is manipulated for them.
Right. Those that are in middle school now are the first generation that have not known social media.
Yeah. And doesn't that scare you? It's like, oh my gosh. Well, I'm just talking about the manipulation part of it because, you know, where do we get our information before social media? We got it from the nightly news, usually cable news.
Yeah.
That's and before that, we got it from mom or dad, or the water cooler, and so the newspaper. I guess that still existed prior to all this, but now we get it all through social media. I mean, when's the last time you didn't get something through social media? And I'm including all these articles we send each other, because where do we get those article links from? Social media.
They come from actually, a lot of them I get from the news site, but I'm going to lump them in with social media too, because they're using the same techniques. News is on those pages are the conglomeration of all of our emotions and what we want, and then the advertisers as well, because they're all ad driven. So using similar algorithms. I think the biggest difference, though, that we're talking about here is in the olden days, scare quotes, it wasn't accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You could only watch the news in the morning, in the evening, and at night 3 times, and most people didn't. They only watched it, like maybe at the dinner time or the bed, or, right before bed type thing. And the newspaper, you picked it up once, maybe picked it up later, but you weren't consuming it in its entirety, 25 times a day.
Oh man. Quick aside. Do you remember when the Sunday newspaper used to be like, pretty amazing? It's like, oh, give me the Best Buy ad. Give me the Target ad. That still happens
when it used to be 300 dead trees per person.
Yes. Those were the glory days. I mean, it still happens around Black Friday. That's the only time I actually look at the newspaper anymore.
Just an aside, Home Depot has canceled Black Friday.
Jerks. I'm kidding. I have no idea why.
So this is related, but it's a total aside. Did anybody in that documentary look familiar to you yesterday? Or the other day when you watched it?
You mean all the nerdy looking tech people? I mean, they all look familiar, but Steve Wozniak.
There was a very specific person that was one of the speaking guests that you should have recognized.
Oh, well, I saw Steve Wozniak in the background, but I didn't.
Yeah, but he wasn't one of the people. How about if I say his name, Roger McNamee.
Keep going.
He was also in another documentary that we talked about a year ago.
Well, I saw what's his name? One of the Facebook founders in there. What's his name? Shit. I'm terrible at this. No.
The ex-president. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember his name, but McNamee is one of the guys that was in the Big Hack.
Okay.
He was one of the main characters. Well, not main, but he's definitely one of the protagonists in the Big Hack as well.
Speaking of which,
I was like, wait, that guy looks familiar.
For the documentary part, there was a protagonist, and his name was Tristan. What?
Tristan Harris.
And so he used to work at Google, and they kind of followed him, and he was doing a kind of like his story arc. He was doing a presentation, and apparently did some Senate discussions or investigation or hearings or whatever. But he basically has a conscience, and I really liked him because he was
actually called the closest thing Silicon Valley has to a conscience.
Ooh, that's right. Maybe it was subliminal. And I really feel like you and I, even though we don't work in the Valley, I really feel like part of our episode, or what we do, is just like, always asking that Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park, just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? You should always be asking that. And I don't think everyone has that gene. And clearly Facebook, I don't know if you work at Facebook, I'm sorry. You just must have no conscience. You just like, hey, money, the money, Kevin. I stopped at the money.
There's been a lot of people leaving though.
Yeah, but they're also, I mean, it's like an abusive relationship. You go to Facebook going, oh, I can change him. Yeah, I can make a difference. Bullshit. The market cap of Facebook says, no, you can't.
Right.
No, not going to happen.
I don't think anybody goes there thinking they're going to change the way Facebook does business.
Then why do you go to
Facebook? Because remember,
money?
To make money. Or you don't believe that it's as bad. If you go to Facebook now, you could probably be going there thinking it's not as bad as what it is, and then you find out, and then you leave.
I shared that article with you. Facebook's paying people to log off and stay off of Instagram and Facebook for on a weekly basis. They'll pay you in the weeks leading up to the election. Not sure the why. I would like to have people say, you know what? I won't pay you anything. Or actually, here we go. Bob and Kevin Show hereby decrees that we will pay you nothing to quit Facebook. Anyway, all right, moving on.
Oh, but you know exactly why they're doing it, though. They're going to follow up with some data analysis to find out what you knew about the election, what choices you made, and why. And they're going to run that against data that they have in their giant machine to see.
Trying to recalibrate everything.
well, probably looking for a justification that says, see, even if they weren't on Facebook and Instagram, they made these choices just like they would have if they were on it.
Oh, you're saying they're building a defense to go, see, we weren't the reason that Trump got reelected.
It didn't sway. Our platform didn't sway the election. That's exactly what they're
after watching this documentary, that is the biggest lie ever. This social media is a manipulation engine. That is what it does. It manipulates you for profit. It pushes you towards an advertiser. It pushes you towards whatever. And all these AI and machine learning models have done nothing but make things more and more polarized. One thing they brought up during the documentary was, some people look at other people and go, how could they be so stupid? Well, the problem is they're not operating with the same information as you. We all make this assumption that, the others, air quotes, scare quotes. We got to trademark that, by the way. The scare quotes, the other people, they're so stupid. The problem is they're being shown information that's different than what you're being shown. And the crazy dreads guy, he's not a crazy guy, but his dreads were, he was talking about, what if Wikipedia was different for every person? And I was like,
right.
Yeah, exactly. If I went, looked up the Bob and Kevin Show on Wikipedia, it's not there. Feel free to add it if you have access or can do so. They, what if they had a different definition depending on what they knew about you? That's what Facebook does. And that's why we don't know anymore what the truth is, because the truth is now 2 billion. There's 2 billion versions of it. That's how many Facebook users are. So, everyone's got their own slightly different version, and they all have different pockets of truth. And we can't operate as a society like that, can we, Bob?
Well, the proof is in the pudding, and no, we can't. We're living it right now, and it's not going so well.
All right. Another interesting thought question here. What would happen if the scare quotes matrix suddenly stopped? Let's just say tomorrow you woke up and there were no Facebook, no Instagram, no Twitter. I can only think of that as being like a Black Mirror episode going, oh my gosh, we're all disconnected. We're awake. What happened?
I'm going to take it one step further because I know you've watched this as well. The most recent season of Westworld. So think about the way that this documentary ended, where it zoomed out and there was a bunch of those little control rooms for each and every person. I paused the show in the middle last night we were watching, and I said to Caroline, I said, the last season of Westworld is this exact concept. There was that giant supercomputer that those two brothers collected everything that ever happened throughout time, and then were able to predict what was going to happen and identified the outliers. If that thing got taken down, if Facebook, Google, YouTube got taken down, there would be chaos in the streets initially. And we'll have to wait till next season of Westworld to see if it smooths out. But
because why? Here, I'll fill in the gap here. Because there's crazy groups like QAnon who want to turn everything into a conspiracy theory about everything just to stir chaos. You sent me an article today about what is it? QAnon.
Well, the fires in Oregon.
Explain.
Stories floating around that they're intentional arson set simultaneously. Not sure what the end game would be to burn down the West Coast. That doesn't seem
conspiracy theories. I think there's got to be just some sort of intrinsic human need to believe conspiracy theories. They've talked about it in this documentary with the flat earthers.
Yes.
Facebook
as a phenomenon,
Twitter,
how it spreads. Yeah.
Social media was able to convince normal, sane people that the world is not flat. Oh my God. That's enough proof there to go, this is a dangerous thing in the wrong people's hands. And I have to tell you right now, it's definitely in the wrong people's hands, because Zuckerberg is always on record saying, oh, well, we don't want to be the arbiters of what is true and whatnot. You know why, Bob? Because truth is supposed to be singular. The thing is very plural, and he knows it, and he's made it that way. We can't
sell ads if it's singular.
Right. Oh, well, we can't have a right and a wrong. We can't have a up or a down or left or right. We need to have, well, what do you think up or down is, Bob? And, oh, by the way, here's an advertiser who would like to consult with you about that.
But, Kevin, you think it's crazy that the earth is flat and that liberal elites are drinking the blood of children. But what if that's because that's the reality that the Matrix has pushed us, is that's crazy.
It's so funny. Like there's so many people who go ... Hillary Clinton Foundation or the Clinton Foundation and George Soros. I don't know anything about either one, but I'm pretty sure they're not the root of all evils. But apparently people out there just want to say everything is, it's George. Is he even a real person? I don't know. But you know what? He's not affecting my life. I know that much.
He's the puppet master. Come on, Kevin.
Who do you even know who he is? I Googled him once and went, who's this guy? Okay.
I think he was a media mogul and, aligned themselves with the coastal elites. Who knows? But
have you seen some of the candidates who've won their primaries recently?
Oh,
this year?
Yeah, the QAnon supporters. Yeah.
Yeah. Holy scary Batman.
Yeah, and we talked about that a little bit in 77 as well. So if you want to go back and listen to that, for sure.
This is how Nazi propaganda, works. If you tell a lie big enough and tell it often enough, people will start to believe it, and it's no longer a lie. You've now convinced people that it is what, Bob? The truth.
It's the truth.
And that's the scary part here. And now imagine having a whole technology platform that's able to do that for you. Oh, that's great.
Well, let's take the wackadoodle out of it for a second, because the question that you asked was, what if it all got shut off?
Right.
And one of the things that echoed throughout the documentary is that it's a subtle shift in behavior over time. And like one of the big, I think it's a personal belief of mine is that people don't necessarily change, but apparently in the right social environment, in the right like stimulus with social media, you can change. And so if that gets turned off, that became your sense of identity. Like that news feed, that echo chamber, those likes, the people you follow, that was your sense of identity. If that gets turned off, wackadoodle or not, only the strongest of us are going to be able to like persevere through that, because you lose yourself when that gets turned off.
I actually had this thought experiment since I watched the documentary. Kevin, you've got like no followers on Twitter or social media. What if you had a bunch, pick a big number, and then suddenly you didn't because they got shut down? How would you handle that? And I think you're right. I think people who like that, who have this voice, would suddenly be derelict and be like, oh my gosh, what do I do? That was what I did. I sent out tweets. I sent out Instagram photos. I TikToked, if that's even a verb. But
I think it is.
I think you're right. I think there'd be a large bunch of people who would just have like no will or no direction on where to go in life.
Right. Even the people who don't engage by providing the content, they thrive off the validation of the content echo chambers that they've curated, but have also been helped to be curated for them. See, and that's a whole nother thing, is like, have I curated my feed, or was I guided in that curation? Did I actually have free will, or did I not?
Like, was I chosen to take this place to have 100,000 followers, 1 million followers? Did I do this, or did the system make me? Right.
But you keep looking at it from the content provider. I'm looking at it from like the feed that I've curated. Like, did I actually choose to follow the people that I follow, or gotcha, were they chosen for me?
In a way, they were presented to you. It's leading the horse to water. You have to be the one that drinks, but they put you in contact with who they want you to be in contact with. It's not like you're typing somebody's name you never heard of, because why? You've never heard them. You're clicking follow because it's right there. Rarely do you ever go, oh, I wonder what so-and-so and so-and-so's Twitter is. Rarely. Right.
But you don't see everyone's, like, I don't see all of your retweets. I only see the retweets of yours that fit my avatar.
Yeah, and I almost get none of your tweets, and I always wondered why that is.
Apparently, our high res avatars don't really align as much as our real people do.
So the documentary ended with turn off all your notifications, whatnot. And you know what I did? I turned off all my notifications, because there's in Android, there's turn them all off, and then you can bring them back in. So I only brought back in like my Etsy and my eBay and my financial stuff. My Twitter is actually off. So I don't know if you've noticed, but in the last week or so, since I've taken a new job, really.
Yeah, exactly.
I've stayed off of Twitter just because it makes me angry. It just really does. Because I'm being presented with these doom scenarios. You call it doom scrolling in the last episode. And watching this documentary, I'm like, you know what? You know who's providing me with this doom? Social media is. Social media is providing me this. They've figured out either what I've like, but also what I don't like, and they're bringing it to me because
it's what you engage with, though.
Exactly.
So like every time you follow a questionable hashtag, every time you go down that rabbit hole, that's putting a tick in that column for the AI to be like, oh, well, this person tweeted about a controversial tag. Oh, look, there we go. I mean, like the illustration.
Why couldn't it be like bunnies and like?
You have to engage with more of that content if you want to shift that.
I guess. Well, the thing that gives me pause is they have so many metrics on you, like how long did you look at this tweet? How long did it stay in the viewport? All that stuff is just data. And it gets to the point, well, that ship sailed. no human knows what's going on in these algorithms, even the people who write them.
Right.
And
It's complete black box.
I've written one at my last stop that when somebody said, Kevin, what's the output going to be? And I said, I look at them and say, I have no idea. We need to run it because it's pulling in so many things from so many places and it's making 1,000 decisions. I have no idea. Let's find out together. Let's run it. And
I just wrote it so the AI could figure out what the output was going to be. I have no idea what it's going to be. The AI is going to figure it out.
Right. It's just such a twisted path from A to Z that I don't know. Each waypoint's very simple, but you know what? Which path it will take, which decision tree it'll go down, I have no idea. And if you scale that up to warehouses full of servers doing this, no human knows. No human has any idea. You know what they know? They know that, hey, we're making money. And you know what? The more we nudge these algorithms, turn these dials, if you will, then we get more money coming out the money machine. The manipulation machine puts out more money.
And Mark is notorious for saying, more AI can fix this.
Yeah.
They're not going to implement the AI to fix it though, because fixing it would necessitate them making less money.
Hey, Mark, please tell us more about how you should fix and regulate your own manipulation engine. Tell us more, please. I'd love to hear this.
Well, one of the things that totally shocked me watching the documentary too is that I had no idea that there was a degree in persuasive technologies.
Oh, there's a class at Stanford or wherever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, wait, that's problematic.
Well, they did bring up that whole idea of psychology, and I'm very into, and have always been into magic, as a kid, even now. And this is really all this is. It's just the psychology of, oh, well, if you want people to look over here as a magician, you misdirect or whatever, So there's the technological version of magic, if you will, and Facebook's really good at it, and that's the scary part. You know what I would like to do? What I would wish upon Mark Zuckerberg is that we aim his AI and ML at himself, just like he's aimed it at us. Because
he probably doesn't engage in it at all.
That was
the one thing that rang through. None of those people let their kids do it. They stay away from it. Well, except, when they're working, and they've all talked about their addiction to it as well. Of course, he's never going to get aimed at it.
I had to laugh when one of the representatives or Congress people asked Mark when he went to Capitol Hill, "Hey, Mark, where are you staying? You mind if I publish that?" It's like, yeah, get him. Whatever. Okay, what else are we missing on your list there, Bob?
Well, you know me, I am a nerd for like how the stuff, how entertainment is made and things like that. And they're, like outside the content, well, I guess it's still content. One of the things that I loved that they did in the production was the quotes that they, used to break up the content.
Any technology that is sufficiently advanced will be indistinguishable from magic. Is that Arthur C. Clarke?
It is.
Wow.
One of the other ones that I loved was there are only two industries that call their customers users: illegal drugs and software. And that's just by a guy named Edward Tufte. I don't know what his claim to fame is. And then Sophocles as well. Nothing vast enters the world of mortals without a curse. I think that was one of the opening ones. And I was like, oh shit, this is going to be so dark.
Yes. Those are all great. All right. What else?
So top to bottom, I loved the production. I loved the way it was set up. I liked that they had, a pretty decent array of, guests who were in the industry to kind of address some of the things. That one guy looked like he was always in a prison cell, though. That was a little weird. That one where he was filmed in.
Oh, no.
No. The guy that was on the metal stool in the really stripped down room, Caroline even said, "Why does it look like he's in a prison cell?" I'm like, well, maybe he is.
He's in the Matrix control room. That's what it looks like. Oh, man. All right, Bob. So I think they predicted in the show, at least some of the people, if this goes for another 20 years on its current trajectory, humanity's done for. I
think 20 years was the longest window. Some of them were like, if it's not fixed in 5 to 10, we're fucked.
I can't disagree with that at all, because And I don't think most people would disagree with that. Yet they'll pull their phone out here, and, after they're listening to this, or maybe you're listening and using Facebook right now, and be like, whatever. I need to stay in contact with so and so. So that's the big thing. A lot of people. I use Facebook to stay in contact with so and so. So I've also pondered. When I left Facebook, I lost these connections to not people I really like, not people I really don't like, just people in my past. How do I stay connected to these people? Because if we stood up newsocialmedia.com and said, it's just like Facebook, except that we won't suck the life out of you, and it's going to be $10 a month because that's what we need to support this. You know how many people would pay for that, Bob? Yeah, we both held up the zero with our hand. Nobody. So the problem is people will bitch and complain about all this and being bad. Yeah. And then they'll log on right after this. I don't get it.
I was also super tickled at the beginning when multiple of the speakers talked about if you don't have to pay for the product, you are the product, or what's that quote along those lines?
Yeah. If the product is free, you are the product.
Yeah. A couple of people referenced that. I was like, damn, this is our show.
We're both technologists, and I don't want to get into work specific stuff, but I can tell you for sure, when I select a job, when I am happy and excited at a job, it really comes down to, are we doing the right thing? Or are we doing ethically proud things? And I know I'm like that. I don't know what the general developer feeling is. I don't know people coming out of college, just they're like, I want to work at one of the big tech places, Google, Facebook, just for name recognition, not realizing that's like going to work for Darth Vader and Imperials. Well, it's a job, I guess. I don't know. I wonder what they teach these days in college, because Stanford's right there in the valley. And a lot of those people get sucked right into big tech right there. Young and dumb. Hey, young, dumb, and a lot of money. What do you say? Okay.
We've been rewatching the show Alias. I don't know if you're familiar with it at all.
Is that like it's old early 2000s, like Jennifer Garner or something?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Nicely done. But the whole premise of that show is that the main character thinks that she's working for the CIA, but she's actually working for a dark organization that claims to be the CIA. And then she ends up becoming a double agent and still working for the dark group and the CIA. But anyway, it's that whole thing. I think these kids come out of school and they get recruited by these companies. And I'm sure that there's all kinds of shiny, flashy, we're bringing people together. Look at Facebook groups. Oh, don't worry about those nationalist, racist, groups. No, and then they come in there and they want to make the world a better place and work for Facebook. And then they're really working for the evil empire. It's just,
Well, I mean, I can kind of see how a young person coming to Facebook, they're worried about the same things I worry about when I take a new job. What's the process? Where's the build server? Where's the source control? What languages are we using? Where's the style guide? Not realize
healthcare.
Right. Not, hey, who's actually using our product? What's the end user look like? And what are they doing nefarious? I mean, some mature people will, but a young person, I don't think so. They're just like,
well, but also think about the siloing that happens. I mean, that one dude's claim to fame is he was a co-inventor of the like button.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you get brought into a project and you're like, hey, junior dev Sally, your first project is going to be to come up with some new emoticons for responses. I'm like, that sounds great.
Yeah, it's also that distancing, because that new developer is far, far from, the person that might have been shot because of some Facebook group, had a call to action and, call to arms.
Right, but you could also be working on some tiny little feature that actually dovetails up into the evil machine, but you don't have any visibility into how it's utilized in the end.
Yeah, so I have a little bit, and I'm not saying I've got a ton. I've got a little bit. So when I went to war, I went to Iraq a few times. I never raised my weapon had a bad guy, if you will, scare quotes, bad guy. I was doing IT infrastructure, but at the end of the day, I was supporting people and proudly supporting my fellow soldiers who were going out and pulling those triggers, and doing their thing. So there is culpability that if I'm supporting somebody who does something wrong, that weighs on me. So I think anyone who works at a Facebook or something like that can't necessarily claim that you're completely your hands aren't dirty, if you will, because you're just working on emoticons.
Right. But that takes an entire organization to admit that there's a problem. And right now, from the top down, there are guys saying it's not their problem. That people are the bad actors, not their software.
Right. It's it's kind of like the guns, right?
Kevin, Facebook doesn't kill people. People kill people.
Right. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. But what if we didn't have guns or Facebook? Well, that's marats. Free speech and guns. Okay. Yeah.
And that purple thumb, goddammit.
Oh, yeah. Fun times. Okay.
So I noticed in the documentary that they did not solve anything.
Hey.
Which also reminded me of our show.
Hey, Jeff. Seriously. We need to talk.
Yeah, we would love to. We could even just do it over beers. Doesn't even have to be on the air. But if you've made it to the 59th minute, I'm going to reach out to him. I've decided.
So what you're saying, Bob, is some really smart insiders of the tech industry were stumped when they were asked, what's the problem? And equally stumped on what's the solution.
Yeah, because they had a hard time wrapping their head around what the singular problem was, which therefore means it's a multi-pronged solution and it's going to take a lot of time. And it, like they were saying, the most optimistic one was like 20 years out. I don't know if we got that much time to figure it out. So I know that Tristan, he is the president of the Center for Humane Technology. I don't really know how much headway he's making with that, but it could be a start.
So one fleeting thought here about the documentary, they talks about how social media in a completely counterintuitive way is attacking democracy. So this free speech engine, in a way, is actually harming democracy.
Well, but that's a misnomer. It's not a free speech engine.
Well, they'll tell you it is.
Well, they will, but I think people who do a little tiny bit of research know that it's not.
So
it's brainwashing.
Let me ask
it's
you
not free speech.
Let me ask you a different question then, or didn't really ask a question, but I will now ask you a question. Is social media harmful to democracy?
100%. I think it's harmful to our way of life, period. And democracy is just one of those things.
And places like Russia and China, where it's more autocratic, communist, if you will, they basically say, you know what? That shit don't fly here, right?
Well, and that's the flip side. They can say, no, you can't take this away because then we're in a fascist regime. And it's like, well, that's because the fascist regime fills that vacuum. I think you could take it all away and the country could dedicate itself to education in some way, shape, or form, but that would be corrupt because it'd be the winners providing what the education is. Yeah, I don't know. Social media is definitely not helping our way of life. Period. The end.
Just personal question. Let's see. Social media kind of came on the scene mid 2000s, maybe late 2000s, right?
Yeah.
So going pre and post, whenever that point in time was life. I want to say is life better, but that's kind of like, well, it could have been a lot of reasons. Was getting your information better or worse pre or post that?
I think there's a lot of factors that go into play there. Age is a big one. I probably cared less.
You were probably what, 40? 39?
Dick. I cared a lot less back then. I didn't have this, like I sought knowledge in more traditional ways, apparently. I don't know, reading, those kind of things. I've gotten lazier, yet more informed with age. I'm sure that social media and the internet has influenced that laziness. I'm questioning the information that I've sucked in that time because it was.
I was just thinking that as you know what the documentary actually emoted within me? Kevin, your current beliefs, are they actually your beliefs?
Right. 100%.
Or were they given to you subliminally over time, like the frog in the water, and it just, now you're where you're at because you've been
and
manipulated.
Now you're boiled.
Right. Well, so I'm actually wondering about that.
I looked at some posts that I made, because the social media engines are also great at that. Let you look back at your memories. I said some pretty ignorant things, 10, 12 years from, in the past. So, maybe I've grown to be more open-minded since then. That would be weird and counterintuitive. But again, were those ideas mine that I grew into? Or was that feed curated to make me, I don't know, more hippy-dippy and more open?
Well, I mean, you're always going to evolve. And you're always going to, you're always going to have stimuli during this evolution. So I think the answer is yes. I'm sure you were prodded in a direction, and I'm sure you are different than you were. The question is are you the person that you thought you would be, or are you happy with the person you are? Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. You don't have to answer. Yeah. It's rhetorical. But I started going, I don't know. Am I who I am because of this? I'm glad I'm off Facebook. I can say that. But I'm actually seriously considering getting rid of my Twitter. And I've said that many times. So are you really, Kevin?
Caroline said she deleted them. I don't know if she closed her accounts, but she got rid of all of them. So
all of what? She had what?
Twitter, Facebook,
all of
Instagram.
Her social medias. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to reconcile. Okay, Kevin, I'm an expressive person. I'd like to do things and share. If I get rid of my Twitter, if I get rid of my Instagram, where's the do thing and share platforms? I can handle the do thing, but where do I share? Well, yeah, and that might be it. I mean, I'm selling artwork, and I never thought I would. And maybe that's all I need.
It's because the algorithms told you were an artist.
Fuck you. So the other thing is when I'm sitting at church, sometimes in between sets, because we play songs, I just have a little downtime because I've heard the sermon once already, or because I'm there for 2 services, so I'm like killing time really in between one of them, and I sit there and I'm on Twitter a lot. What if I didn't do that? What would I do? I don't know what I would do.
You'd soak in the word, Kev.
But I've already heard it once.
In the moment.
Basically, I'm in a waiting room at this point. And so I'm trying to think, gosh, do I even know how to exist without some sort of stimuli in a room,
Well, you definitely have to go through the withdrawal symptoms. I mean, that's 110% fact.
And then I've already gone through the Facebook thing where I killed it off, but then I went, oh man, I can't talk to so-and-so anymore. Oh, hey, shoot, yeah. Can't talk to so-and-so. If I do that on Twitter again, I'm going to have yet more people where like, oh yeah, I really have no way to talk to them now. And it's just really sad. Yeah.
But also, is that by design? I don't know.
I would think so, because I would think, it's you related users to software and drugs, right? So if we just go down the drugs path, the dealer wants to keep you on the drug to get paid, keep money coming in. And they want it to be difficult for you to get off. Thankfully, the product is oftentimes difficult to get off of because of addiction. And then lastly, they want to make it hard for you to walk away from that lifestyle.
Oh.
And it's really like, Kevin, when you're talking about drugs or software in those cases, it's like, yeah.
Both.
Yes, is the answer.
Yeah.
So yeah. They did bring up in the documentary, and I'm extending this episode, I apologize. It's amazing. You could pull out your phone, push a button, and there's a car waiting to take you somewhere within minutes. That is pretty amazing. Not gonna
That's
lie.
the magic part.
I really wish we had single serving technologies, I guess. Meaning Uber, you know what I need you to do? I need you to show up with a car, take me there, and then forget I fucking exist until I need you again. And yeah, right. Shake your head. I get it. But Facebook, same thing. Hey, Facebook, I need you to tell me about whose freaking birthday it is. I need to see the family pictures, and I need to see content from my people in my feed, and that's it. And then when I'm off Facebook, I'm not on your platform. I don't fucking exist. I mean,
but that goes against everything that we've talked about. No one will pay $10 a month for that service. So you can't get those things for free.
What did we ever do before this, Bob? That's what I'm trying to get at. We had Rolodexes, right?
We just lived. Nothing vast enters the world of mortals without a curse.
We had phone numbers, and hell, we didn't even have phone numbers that like were assigned to your person. We had phone numbers assigned to a building called the home phone. How did we survive, Bob?
Just fine. We survived just fine.
You know,
the problem is the technology that helps cure disease, the technology that helps solve, incalculable problems, social media, the internet, news information cycles, those are all byproducts of like those technologies. The important technologies could not have advanced without this, byproduct coming along with it.
So a little personal introspection here, because I asked you, pre-post social media. So for pre-social media for me, how did I exist? Well, I had a phone, like a cell phone. So let's fast forward to there. But the funny thing is I didn't have a global or at least even a regional network.
Right.
My network was very local. It was, hey, let's go to the movie. Hey, let's go to the local thing. Hey, let's go here. And then when social media came, it's like that inner ring of people almost didn't matter anymore. And then it was like you're rewarded for having these social networks of people in England. Hey, I know somebody in England. Hey, I know somebody in Denmark. Ooh, whoopee. Hey, this is some person's from Australia. Oh, cool. And then it's like we spend more time trying to interact with those folks and we forget the people in our local orbits because we can. And I almost miss that. I almost miss like, well, Kevin, I need to go to the movies. Who's your choices? Well, I don't know. Let me open up my phone and contact. Do you even use your phone contacts anymore?
No, I don't. Since the pandemic. I mean, even I guess before the pandemic, but even more so after the pandemic, I don't use my phone at all.
So here I'm just reminiscing now. Bob, once upon a time, I knew people's phone numbers. I don't know anyone's phone number except for maybe my wife because I have to put it on medical forms. I still know my parents' phone number, but okay, because it hasn't changed since you did know it.
Right.
But my point is you meet somebody new.
No,
hey,
yeah. No.
Hey, here's my number. Text me, and then you put it in your phone book, and that's it. Done.
Or now you just hand your phone over and have them put it in.
Bob, remember? You're old enough to remember. We didn't used to have 10-digit phone numbers. You just had to. You didn't even have to put in your area code. You just dialed. Yes. You just dialed the 7 digits. Now, of course, older people, well, we didn't even have that. We had party lines. Yeah, well, I'm not them. But anyway, so, it was shocking to me the day that we had to start entering area codes. It's like, well, I'm just calling local. We had this whole concept of local and long distance. Dude, we've been through a lot. And this whole like social media revolution, if you will, has really disrupted, and that's that tech buzzword. Oh yeah, we've disrupted. Okay, yeah, but we're
gonna use it in negative here.
Yeah, definitely a pejorative. This is not a compliment of disrupt. In fact, Mark Zuckerberg, I never knew who you were. I can honest to God say, I wish I never had to see any stupid things called, or what did we watch recently, or I watched recently with there was a documentary on him. It's old. It's like a decade old. The Social Network.
Oh,
right?
Social Network, yeah.
I wish those didn't exist because I just didn't know who Mark Zuckerberg was because I wish I didn't give a fuck.
It was good to get to know the Winklevoss twins, though.
No, it wasn't. I don't care. I still don't care about that. I guess I'm starting to sound like an old man. Who turned 50 here? Me or you?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Well, speaking of getting old, I'm gonna wither away and die if I don't eat. So I think we gotta
Wrap
this thing up. We didn't solve anything again. I just want to finish by saying, kids, don't do drugs and don't do social media.
All right. And also, kids, Bob's still on Facebook. Just saying.
I am. I'm still on all of them. But
All
that's
right.
because I'm better than all of you.
All right. I've just been meandering, so I have no final thoughts. Bob, why don't you take us home?
All right, man. Everyone have a great week. Stay off social media, but do go to bobandkevin.show and listen to some episodes. Hit like, subscribe. I don't know what kids do these days, but find us where finer podcasts are sold or not, because ours is free 100% all the time. Give us some
Paid
stars.
for by your
leave a
data.
review. Yeah, that's right. Just data supported. You are the product. Just remember that. Have a great week, y'all.
Bye.
Hey, have you ever wondered how you can get in touch with us at the Bob and Kevin Show?
Well, first, you can try us via email at comments@bobandkevinshow.com.
Or are you more into social? If so, you can find us on Twitter at Bob and Kevin Show.
Or on Instagram as Bob Kevin Show.
That's Bob, the letter N, Kevin Show.
And if you're still on Facebook, you can even find us at facebook.com/Bob and Kevin Show.
And for the serious business fans, you can even find us on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/company/the-Bob-Kevin-Show.
How's that for a handle? Let's connect.